Hi everyone, I hope everyone is staying safe. Today I'm going to be talking to you about sentences and their formality and determining which sentence is more formal. So, to give you a quick definition, a formal sentence is something that usually is grammatically correct, something that, for example, you would read out of a book, whereas an informal sentence is a sentence that you would say to your friends or to your family members when there's no need for formality, you're just casually talking, you might say an informal sentence. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reading both sentences, and then based on things like grammatical structure and the use of words, we're going to determine which sentence is more formal. So, first, let's read this first sentence. Customers should respond to this email at their earliest convenience. And second, customers should respond to this email ASAP. Well, the first thing that I notice here is that the first sentence uses the phrase earliest convenience, whereas the second sentence uses the acronym ASAP. In this sense, ASAP, or as soon as possible, is less formal than earliest convenience because it is an acronym, it's not fully spelled out, it's kind of slang, it's a way to quickly say something, and it's not very formal. Whereas this first sentence says at their earliest convenience, making it more formal than an acronym. So we're going to go ahead and select this one. Great, let's do another one. The first sentence, a tropical cyclone is a strong circular storm that begins over warm oceans near the equator. And the second sentence, a tropical cyclone is a real big storm that begins over warm oceans near the equator. So the difference in these two sentences is right here in the beginning. A tropical cyclone is a strong circular storm versus a tropical cyclone is a real big storm. So how do we determine which one is more formal? The first sentence is more formal because it is using a word such as strong that describes the type of storm in a really formal way and an accurate way. When you say strong, you have a clear idea of what type of storm it is. Whereas when you say real big storm, that's more informal because that's not something that, for example, you would read in a book because it doesn't really give you a good idea of what type of storm it is, kind of what it looks like, or its characteristics. So, real is not a good adjective to describe the storm, whereas strong gives you a better idea of what the storm is like. So, when answering which sentence is more formal, it would have to be the first one. And great, let's do one last one. So the first sentence, most of the apartments in New York City's Upper West Side cost an arm and a leg. And the second one, most of the apartments in New York City's Upper West Side are extremely expensive. So this time the difference is at the end of the sentence. We're looking at the apartments costing an arm and a leg versus the apartments as extremely expensive. So this first sentence is actually less formal because it's using a phrase or it's using slang, something that you would talk to your friends about. So if you're describing something, you might say, "Oh wow, that TV costs an arm and a leg." But once again, that's not something that is formal as you wouldn't really read it in books, and it's not a really good way to describe the situation. Whereas extremely expensive gives you an idea that most people can't afford it because it costs a lot of money and it's not really an informal phrase. So therefore, the sentence that is more formal is extremely expensive. And there we go, we did it. So once again, when deciding if a sentence is more formal or not, think about if you would say that sentence to your friends versus if you would read that sentence in a book. And also look for things such as acronyms or phrases or slang, things that you wouldn't typically read in books. Um, or that authors wouldn't publish, and that is typically how you decide if a sentence is more formal or not.